Hey guys, it's Ryan here at Model Domestic Church. Welcome to my channel if you're new, and if you've come back, thank you so much for coming back. I have a cold, so please forgive how I sound, but I really wanted to do this video. So today I will be reviewing this book, Auntie Mary Exposed. It is so powerful. I have read and listened to it twice. I received this book from Tan Books, which I highly recommend. I will put a link in the description box below if you'd like to check it out. I'd encourage you to purchase this book. It is so great. Like I said, Tan Books sent me this book. I would have bought it on my own, but I was so grateful they sent it to me. I have a video with the unboxing of the items they've sent. I'll put that in the description box below if you'd like to see it. I think it's really important to support Catholic companies and Catholic authors such as Carrie Gress. She has so many wonderful books. If you'd like to check that out, I will put her Instagram account in the description box below too. You can check her out and all of her books and her website. And she's now selling candles, I believe, which is amazing. But this book is amazing. I have here the contents. Oh, this book is phenomenal. I will show you first I made notes in the book. I love this book. I'm going to keep it just forever. Offer it to my daughters to read when they get older if they'd like to as well. But I have all these little notes in it. But this is basically the contents. Okay, so the first part, the long battle, basically sums up what we see in the culture today. She talks about how we got to where we are now. And there's three sections. There's Erasing Mary, Satan's Point of Entry, the Malcontent Heart, and Goddess Worship is Afoot. And it's amazing how she just takes you through what happened, how we got here, and all of that. I don't want to get into too much because I really encourage you guys to get the book. It is so good. I also have it on Audible. This is not sponsored by Audible, but I do have it on Audible. It's nice to hear it as well as read it. But I basically laid here in my notes because I know I can go all over the place. I put that this part one, is basically everything we see in the culture. Erasing Mary is, for me, what it really spoke to me is basically letting you know this. Taking away the beauty of virtue and the possibility of living a holy and righteous life. Because if you think that's not possible, then what is there? So what comes in right after that? Teaching, don't teach humility, forgiveness, or the possibility of living righteously after sin. It is possible, ladies, right? If you have sinned or something has happened to you, it is possible to have a beautiful and righteous life after that. That is one of the lies of the enemy, that it is not possible. It is possible to live righteously before and after. The sacrament of confession is so powerful. So I encourage you all to not believe the lie that it's not possible to live virtuously after sin. It is possible. And then after that, in the culture, what teaches is teaching anger and victimization and misery, that this is what we have and this is what we walk through after in our life. Is coming from a place of anger. I'm a victim. Even if you were a victim of like a crime, you don't have to live in a place of victimization. You can walk in freedom after that. But that's what the culture teaches us: anger, victimization, misery. And then another section it really spoke to me was the idea that we equate our feelings and emotions as truth and fact. That, like, yes, we have feelings, we have emotions, and we should be validated in how we feel and work through it as women. But to not get stuck in the lie that our feelings and our emotions and all the anger that might come with certain things, that place is where we have to stay, that place is truth and fact, that we can move past that in freedom. And this book really lays that out and helps us to see it, which I think is so powerful because we just don't see that anywhere else in the culture, where we get to hear like that there is capital truth, that there is capital tradition, that our faith is real. And that just because we have anger or hurt or anything like that, that doesn't mean that we have to stay in that as truth. And another thing I wrote down, that there are spiritual forces at work, that it's not just, people are angry or people are hurt, but there is a spirit that moves in that. I don't want to give too much away because this book is so powerful and I really encourage you guys to read it. But so part one is just basically, I put in my notes, basically everything we see now in the culture, and she breaks down how that happened, the actual people that were involved in the movement and what was going on with them. So I'm going to move on to part two and share my thoughts about part two. So part two is called Auntie Mary Inc. There are three sections in part two, and they're called The Big Lie, Changing Human Nature. Oh my goodness. This is one of the things I love as a Catholic convert, when I learned about human nature and who we actually are and how God made us. And then the second part of part 2 is the Anti-Marian Architects. Then the New Matriarch, Fashionable Dictators. And what my notes say about this is everything I had to pray to get out of. So in my notes here, I'm going to try to stay on point so I don't ramble, is The Big Lie, Changing Human Nature. They talk a lot about Russia. And if you are a fan of Our Lady of Fatima, which I love, I've learned so much about the apparition. Our Lady of Fatima talked a lot. So just the lies of Russia. And there's so much there. I don't want to go into it, but she really explains a lot really well in this book. But for me personally, the big lie that I had to work through, because I grew up in the Christian Science religion, so that means that they have a lot of different beliefs, but one of them is that you're not really, the body's not real, nothing material is real, you're kind of somewhere else, and you're having this like collective, almost like a dream with everybody, you have to wake each other up. Anyway, so the big lie, changing human nature. So for me personally, the first thing I had to do when I was on this walk was I had to first accept that I had an actual body, which sounds really funny, but I really had to work on that. And I was like 22 years old when I was working on that. Number 2, then I had to learn about my actual human nature and grow and develop in it. My kids are really loud. Sorry, when they play. And then the third is reject the lie that who I am is just like fluid. Like I'm just this, I'm just like nothing. I don't know how to explain it, but those are the things that I had to personally work through. And so I really appreciated this section on the idea of changing human nature and what people think. Like if we can just, do ... we can change who men and women really are, like, or change what they think, what they really are. And we can just become whatever we want humans to be. And how that is a lie, because God made us a certain way. We are body persons. We have a body, we have a soul. We are marked as women, we are marked as men, this is who we are. And so there was so much just like, it was so good in this chapter to see the lies just spread out like, on the page without any, just like telling the truth basically. And then there was the Anti-Marian Architects, and they got into a lot of, who these women were that were part of this movement, their backgrounds, their relationships with their parents, their mental health issues, and you can research all of the people in this book and see like what they were really about. So anyway, so that was that. And then the New Matriarch, Fashionable Dictators. So I have shared before that I received a certification in fashion design, another one in image consulting. And it was really interesting learning about the people, the big players in the fashion world, and how so much of immodesty and the things that were going on, in mid 1900s and early 1900s, so much of it was so much more than just a fashion statement. So it was really helpful, I think, to read this part too, also to be able to get a good idea of how much what we see right now has been something that has been in the workings for a long time. Okay, so part 3 and part 4 were just so beautiful. So a lot of people, I think, read part 1, read part 2, and like need a break because it's like, whoa, this is like really heavy. This is intense. And Carrie Grass does a great job with part 3 and part 4, because it's like this time of rest for your soul, because you're really learning about Our Lady and her goodness and what she offers us and how she leads us to her son. There's just so much goodness here. So part 3 has 3 parts: the true mother, fruit and content, and understanding Mary's beauty. So much good is here. And it was really interesting having worked through a lot of these issues that I had kind of on my own, reading the catechism, obviously through prayer, looking for books, trying to find materials to talk about like true beauty. It was just this long process, and being able to read literally in like 2 parts of this book what I have been trying to search for in so many different outlets for so many years was kind of nice. Like being able to look to Our Lady as a true mother. I tell my kids that I am their earthly mother and I will mess up, but they have a true heavenly mother that is so perfect and is always there for them and will never like fail. And I think it's really important for us to teach our children about Our Lady, because we will fail as mothers. Like, we are not perfect, but Our Lady will never fail us. And so I love that section about her as the true mother. And then fruit and content, and then understanding Mary's beauty are so fruitful, and they really do help us to understand what actual and true beauty is. And I talked about in my last video, I did a Q&A with my husband about being lovely and modest and not just in dress, because true beauty will lead other people to like holiness and righteousness and goodness. It's not selfish and it's not lustful. It's so different. So part 3 was really beautiful. Okay, part 4 is imitating Mary, 6 ways to combat anti-Mary, and helping the walking wounded. I liked part 4 because it was very like practical application, the how-tos of all of this, which I think is really important, because after part 1 and 2, you're feeling like, okay, now I know how we got to this place that we're at. I understand how the things that, you know, I've learned in the culture are not right. I knew they were wrong, but I didn't know how to like find peace with it. And part 3 starts to lighten up, sharing about Mary and our good mother. And then in the end, to wrap it up with that practical application, the how-tos of like making these changes, how to make the changes in your own life, how to treat other people, to be more like Our Lady. Very good, very good. So all in all, this book, guys, it's amazing. I'm not just telling you because I want you to buy a book. I'm telling you because it's going to be transformative. Particularly, I feel like for people like me that were really steeped in like the toxic feminism, it's really important to know that I don't like to use the words abused and manipulated like lightly, but I feel when it comes to certain things that women have been taught over the last however many decades, like in some ways it's abusive, because it's like, no, people aren't telling us our true nature. People aren't telling us like all that we're capable of and all the beauty that it is to be a woman. It's like we're being taught this like falseness, if that makes any sense. And then at the same time, like it's manipulative, because you're taking young girls that don't know any better and like teaching them these things. Now, with all of this said, I also like to come from a place of compassion and patience, because there are times where I didn't know things, and when people treated me badly, it hurt and it wasn't okay. So I'm not trying to like make anybody feel bad, because we're all in a different place in our walk, but I want to be honest, because I was one of those people that would have really, really appreciated to have known like the truth about these things. And I will say that my dear mother, I really appreciate, because for 3.5 years of my life, she homeschooled my sister and I together. And we read books like Little House on the Prairie series and Little Women, and we got to bake and cook. And those 3.5 years just kept me going so much in my life, because I saw that it was possible to have, you know, a beautiful like home, and like, you know, I read books that spoke to this. You know, I wasn't raised Catholic in the sense that I didn't go to the church, but there was Catholicism in our family history. And like, so just even if you're able to just give a little bit of that, it can go so far. So I want to encourage mamas who maybe are trying to do little bits here and little bits there in their home, of sharing the beauty of home and of, you know, loveliness and modesty and all the beautiful things of domestic work, like in the home. Like, it will be the seeds that combat other seeds, if you know what I mean. So I wanted to share that too. But the toxic feminism that's in our culture is real, and it's so important that if that's the loud voice being shouted on all the commercials and all the headlines, it's important that we also have other things to combat that with, to teach beauty and truth and kindness. And I know this isn't going to be a video for everybody, and that's okay, because we're all at different places in our walk. So, but I did want to do a review in this book. It is so good. Like I said, read and listened to it twice. It's been so transformative for my walk as a Catholic woman, wife, and mother. So I wanted to share with you guys too. If you're new to this channel, I'd love for you to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up. Check out the link in the description box below at Tan Books. Tan Books has so many wonderful books. And I'll put all those other links I talked about in the description box below if you want to check them out. And I hope you guys have a beautiful and blessed day. God bless.